I can't believe people didn't make a big deal out of this comment. When I first read it, I'm like, nah, he didn't say this. This is a troll. This is a fake news, fake article. There's no way Chris Jericho said this dumb shit. There's no way. This is the definition of hating and being jealous. Look, man, ever since Vince stepped down, Chris Jericho has been saying some very weird, reckless shit about the WWF lately. I think he knows Triple H does not like him, so Chris Jericho gives zero fucks about what he says about the WWF. Because when Triple H was in his prime, I heard he didn't like Chris Jericho. He felt like Jericho was a cocky, arrogant prick who was short. Triple H didn't see the big deal out of Y2J. So they never really got along all that well. I mean, they are, I would say, cordial, but they are not BFFs. Would not give him the red carpet treatment if he were to come back. So that's why he's saying anything that popped into his head now. See, he was always a WWF defender. He was always a Vince McMahon defender when he was in charge. Now, not so much. Now that Triple H is in charge now, he knows there's not a good chance he will be allowed back. I think he knows that. There's no way in hell Triple H is going to give him the red carpet treatment. So he's saying a lot of reckless shit now. Because he was saying positive shit because he knew that the door was always open. Because of Vince. Vince always opens the door. He always leaves the door open for everybody. But Triple H, not so much. Triple H is very different. He's bringing back all the guys that Vince got rid of. That's the difference. So far, Triple H has not been bringing back people he didn't get along with. Have you noticed that? See, they are very different. Vince, he lets bygones be bygones if your name is not CM Junk. That's why Jericho was always saying nice things. But now Triple H is in charge. Yeah, he's saying some dumb shit. This can't be true. There's no way in hell he said this. This dude said nobody knew who Cody Rhodes were. Wow, he said nobody knew who Cody Rhodes was before AEW? Like, no, come on, man. Come on, dog. You can't say lying dumb shit like that. Chris Jericho, you are not an EVP. TNT offered the Bucks, Omega, and Rhodes a contract. All Elite Wrestling was the brainchild of the Bucks, Omega, Khan, and Cody Rhodes. You had nothing to do with it. Yeah, they wanted to bring you in because you was a big name that can draw eyes to the product, hence why they made you their first ever world champion. But at the end of the day, in hindsight, I mean, what good did that do for the product? In hindsight, did Jericho bring in more eyes? Not really. I feel like if they would have made Cody Rhodes the world champion, I feel like they would have did the same numbers. But let's get back to, he said nobody knew who Cody Rhodes was before AEW. Let that sink in for just a second right now. That was very triggering. The fact that nobody else is talking about this, nobody told me he said this. It's like, where are all the real wrestling fans at? Is wrestling dying? It's like, nobody told me this. Nobody's made no videos about this. Dude, this is a big deal. It's being swept under the rug that he said this. this really pisses me off. See, this is why Cody Rhodes left. He had too many haters backstage. Let's be honest, man. He was kicked out of his own company, kind of like Steve Jobs. He was ousted out of his own company that he built. But TNT, look, I've said this over and over and over again. The Bucks were indie guys. Omega, he was an indie guy. His name is Cody Rhodes. Rhodes. Does that last name ring a bell? His last name is Rhodes. Last time I checked, Dusty Rhodes used to be employed by TBS and TNT. That last name draws some eyes, right? Hence why they gave him his own reality show, Rhodes to the Top. Rhodes to the Top. Because of that famous last name that people recognize as hardcore wrestling fans, we know who he is. Come on, dude. Like, AEW wouldn't be a... Okay. Let me put your feet to the fire. Would AEW be a thing if Cody Rhodes was never involved? Do you think Tony Khan would have signed a deal with TNT if he only had Omega and the Bucks on his team? No. Because TNT would have said, okay, who are these guys? These are indie guys. Cody Rhodes is a former WWF guy at that time. We know who he is. Come on, don't we know who Dashing Cody Rhodes is? We know who Stardust is. How, like, he's the brother of Goldust. And at the time when Cody Rhodes left, there was more people watching. Like, what are we talking about here? Cody Rhodes was wrestling in 2010, 2012, 09, 08, that era where more people was watching. Everybody knows who he is. If you know who Dusty Rhodes is, you know who Cody Rhodes is, you know who Goldust is, you know who Cody Rhodes is. If you don't know who they are, that means you're not a wrestling fan. You know what? I wouldn't call you a casual. You're just not a fan of wrestling if you don't know who Cody Rhodes is. Nah, bruh. If you know who John Cena is, if you know who Randy Orton is, you know who Cody Rhodes is. Cut that shit out, Chris Jericho. That's an insult. That's why Cody Rhodes, he responded on Instagram. Come on, even Cody Rhodes was triggered because that was like, huh? Like, what are you doing? Like, that was a huge shot that was uncalled for. Bruh, Cody Rhodes is the biggest star in the WWF right now, next to Roman Reigns. But let me just date back to the start of AEW. Would you have watched it if Cody Rhodes was not involved? Bruh, he was their mascot for a reason. Cody Rhodes, when he was in AEW, he was on so many TV shows. It's like, what are we talking about here? He was on so many reality TV shows. He was on magazine covers. He was trying to branch out. Dog, when we think about Cody Rhodes, we don't think about AEW. We think about him from his last company, which is the WWF. That's crazy, bro. That's insane that he said that. There will be no AEW if Cody Rhodes was not there. I can't believe Jericho said this. Because there's no way in hell TNT would have got in the business with Omega and the Bucks and Khan without an ex-WWF guy involved. Cody Rhodes. His name was familiar. This is TNT. Right, this is TNT. TNT was the home of Dusty Rhodes, literally. We know who he is. That last name is famous. It's like, you don't have to be a casual to know who Cody Rhodes is, like, it's like that means you was not watching professional wrestling, bro, in 2010, 2012 by saying nobody knew who Cody Rhodes was. That's like the equivalent of saying, okay, nobody knew who CM Junk was by your logic. Dude, this guy is a multiple-time IC champion, multiple-time tag team champion. Dog, he was in a faction with Randy Orton. Let me rephrase that. He was in a faction with a prime Randy Orton when Orton was a top 2 guy in the company. Like, what? Dog, Randy Orton gave him the rub for a reason, to get his name more out there. And it was. Dog, more people was watching the WWF when Cody Rhodes was there. So there's millions of people that know who this man was before AEW. Come on, man, this is insane. He was on video games. Dog, look. From, I would say 2010, maybe 08. From 08 to 2015, right? From 08 to 2015, I was barely watching the product, right? I was barely watching the WWF around that time. Like, I was barely watching, but I knew who Cody Rhodes was. Like, no, I was barely watching, and I knew who he was. Look, I wasn't watching the product all that much, but I do remember Randy Orton had a faction. He had Cody Rhodes and he had Ted DiBiase's son in that faction. That is very rememberable. So this is this Jericho, bro. By your logic, nobody knew who you was before AEW. Because, dude, Cody Rhodes was in the WWF for like what, 8 years before he left? That's a long time to be wrestling on TV every week in front of millions and millions of people. He was wrestling during the John Cena Prime era. We know who the fuck he is, bro. He was on tons of video games. I fucking remember dashing Cody Rhodes. I remember when Cody Rhodes broke his nose and he had to wear that mask. I remember his run. That is very insulting. Look, Jericho is just out of pocket, man. I don't know if it's pure jealousy. He's trying to bring down the name of Cody Rhodes. He's trying to hype up AEW, but there's certain shit you don't say. You don't say that dumb shit. You don't say nobody knew who he was. Like, dog, he made AEW. How the hell are you gonna say don't know who he was before that company? Dog, he built that company. So by my logic, somebody had to know who the fuck he was for somebody to put faith in him to start his own professional wrestling company. He had to be known. Okay, Jericho, by your logic, do you think a guy like a Jay White would have been signed to AEW? Like, okay, we don't know who he is, right? A guy like a Jay White, okay, nobody knows who he is. So I can't see AEW making him an EVP because, bruh, nobody knows who he is outside of New Japan. Guys like that, no. Cody Rhodes was the catalyst. Bro, we know Stardust, we know Dash and Cody Rhodes, we know who this guy is, bro. Last time I checked, Dusty Rhodes has kids. So, what are we talking about here? Like, to say nobody knew who he was before AEW, a company that he literally started. Jericho, he was an EVP for a reason. Dog, Tony Khan would have never made him an EVP if Cody didn't have a name. Your company was built on the back of Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes was your mascot. It's like, okay, this is what is very, very triggering. He said nobody knew who he was, right? Okay, Jericho, by your logic, you're saying that AEW signed Cody Rhodes to a contract, right? Okay. Why would a company sign Cody Rhodes to a contract when Cody Rhodes built that company? Think about that logic. Let's say I start my own company, and hey, I was signed by my own company. That's the same thing, isn't it? It's like, duh. If it's my company, I shouldn't have to be signed by my own company if I made it in the first place. Chris Jericho, man, he is insane right now. I don't know what's his problem, and I don't know why nobody else is talking about this. This was days ago that he made this comment. This was days ago. Nobody brought it to my attention that he said this bullshit. That's like saying, dog, I got tons of examples, bro. That's like saying nobody knew who Dean Ambrose was before AEW. Jericho, that's your logic. At the end of the day, I've been playing WWF video games all my life. I remember I bought I think WWE 2K I think 12 or 13. Cody Rhodes was on that game. So what are we talking about here? He's been on every video game since he's been signed. So how can you say nobody knew who he was? Bro, it's drawing numbers. Okay, look. Cody, the Bucks, Omega. Didn't they sell out All Out? I don't know. I think it was All In or something like that. Their first ever pay-per-view that they started, it was a sellout, right? It was a sellout because of how big Cody Rhodes' name was with the Bucks, with Omega, but mostly Cody Rhodes. Dog, Cody Rhodes, you can make the argument he put over Omega in the Bucks as semi-mainstream guys, kinda. He gave them the rub. You know why? He was an ex-WWF guy. He gave everybody the rub in the goddamn Bullet Club when he was in it. Dog, AEW was made because of the elite. Jericho, you was not a part of the elite. Okay? Get that through your fucking head. That company that you're in was made because of the Bucks, Omega, and Cody. Not you. So Cody had to have had a big name to start his own fucking wrestling company. This is crazy, man. So I'm starting to really slowly lose respect for Chris Jericho, man. I mean, he has an awful faction. What he's doing is so cringe. It's really devaluing his name as a legend. I mean, the Jericho Appreciation Society, that's some cringe stuff. And it's ruining his rep. And him saying this dumb shit about Cody Rhodes, that's crossing the line to say nobody knew who he was before AEW, a company that he started. A company that he started from the ground up. I mean, dawg, do you remember the pep rally? Cody Rhodes was the leader of that pep rally. I don't get it, man. But I'm done.